How to become an instant psychic success. This is my twist on the subject coming up right after this. Good afternoon. This is Lucky Links. This is a question those of us who do readings professionally get all the time. People who want to get in the business, people who want to learn how to become an instant psychic success. The reason I'm choosing to do this video today, and I wrote down a couple of cues so that I remember. It's an Earth Dog Day. Today is an Earth Dog Day, and the dog is the sign of the dog. The Tibetan bond sign of the dog is all about loyalty. And that made me think about how loyal people are to their studies, their practice, their learning. When you sit down to learn a subject, how loyal are you to yourself and your impulse that's driving you to learn that subject matter? And this particular subject matter, I've said before, is an art. It is like any other art. The more that you practice it, the more fluent you get in it, the more skilled you get, the more tricks that you can do. People always want to know which oracle is gonna, what's your favorite deck? What's your favorite thing? What are your favorite cards? What gives you, because there's this unspoken thing out there that, you know, if you get the right oracle, it's going to open, everything's going to open up for you and you'll be an instant psychic success. I don't think I've ever found anything in all the years that I've been doing this that makes one an instant psychic success. I think that practice, working with the oracles, developing and being loyal to your impulse. So if you have an impulse that you want to learn this, and you want to learn this for a particular reason that I think goes deeper than, well, I just want to be a big shot and prove to everyone how spiritual I am. I'm a big time medium. I think if you have an impulse inside you that's like, look, I really want to uncover something. I really want to learn this. There's an impulse to learn this. How loyal are you to learning it? Because I'll see people start to go down a path of learning something. So like, say they start to learn Lenormand cards and they're like, well, no, I want to learn tarot now. Well, I want to learn this now. I want to learn that now. How much do you learn the thing that you're trying to learn before you switch to the other thing? How loyal are you to your own learning process? That's the first thing I want to say. And do you sort of, do you stick with it? Or do you jump around to find the next thing? It's not just this area where this happens. Someone starts to play an instrument. They jump, I don't want to play that anymore. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do that. And then we get people who are readers are like, well, I don't feel like I know what I'm supposed to be doing. There's a reason for that. That has to do with something that goes much deeper than I'm discussing in the book about manifesting that I'm working on right now. But let me just say that people have gotten in the habit from the time they're very small in settling. We settle. We are not loyal to who we were born to be. Each of us came here for a specific reason, to cultivate and develop and become a certain type of being for a reason. We are not loyal to that. We betray that because we want to please other people. We want to please parents. We want friends. We want to be popular. Sometimes it's very unpopular to remain true to yourself. Sometimes it's very unpopular to not have the answers figured out and to take time to figure it out. Especially when you're a kid. If you don't have all the answers figured out, my gosh, people are merciless to you, and you can settle real fast and go along with there's a lot happening in the world right now that people are settling for. So I think when people settle, when they start by settling for something that's less than their own potential, that's less than who they are, well, they're probably going to jump around things because they're not going to really have a sense of themselves. Why? I said this in the last video or last couple of videos. Why do you want to learn this? And then how loyal are you to your practice? There's another thing that happens here. When people get too rigid and too hung up on things, I'm using the Lenormand for this because this is a good example. There's a thing that people do in Lenormand with card combinations, and it's not that I don't use card combinations. I will use card combinations, but I don't always, use them the way let's just say I've developed my own experience with card combinations. So let's say that there's a lucky love affair that comes into your life, or there's a card combination here. We got the heart and the okay, because it could be a good stroke of luck, or something that makes your heart feel good, or it could be a lucky charm that you carry for security, or it could be there's someone in your life who's like lucky for you, or could be you're lucky in love. Okay. Sometimes when we read, this is one of the weird things about Lenormand. Lenormand's tricky. If you do a grand tableau, you're gonna have cards like the whip. You're gonna have cards like the cross. You're gonna have the snake. Things that can come up as tricky and bad. And when you lay the grand tableau out, you have all of them laid out, and there is a chance that you kind of have to face all the bad cards, even though you may be going through a time where it's a positive time. And what I'm trying to get at here is we can take negative things in the cards and force them on our lives because we're not really being true to who we are and really what we are. And I know this has happened. There were times when I was younger, when I was learning, I'd see something bad in the cards, and then I'd start to make it happen so that the cards could be right. And when in actuality, the cards can be showing us something else that's going on with our ego, something that's going on in the periphery, something that's going on with someone else. And we can step right into it and force it to happen. Okay, so that's one of the things I wanted to say today. So let's say the birds come up and I said, oh my God, there's going to be gossip today. There's going to be worry. It could be there's gossip and worry. Or I could find myself forcing myself into a state of worry because I've put the suggestion into my brain. So you have to be very, very careful with that, and you have to be very consistent in your practice. What other practice do you have that's supporting you in this, that allows you to be able to move through difficult times and difficult things? Are you cultivating who you are at your core so that you can come more naturally from that? And then the cards don't dictate everything that goes on in your life. I've said this a million times. These are just a tool. My master, His Holiness Padma Rinpoche, said to me once, he said, look, fix your karma first, then worry about business. We have habits, we have habitual patterns. If you're a warrior, which is one of the, a lot of times people who worry get into this. I did. I worried a lot when I was younger, and I got into this to sort of help me work through the worry. But sometimes I would find that in a situation, I might look at a card combination and go, oh my God, that's going to be bad things. Like maybe I find the coffin and the snake. Oh my God, there's going to be sickness, Well, maybe not. Maybe it just means that you need to be strategic or slick about an ending. Or maybe someone who's been causing problems in your life falls away. So the trick is, how do you remain in a state where you're sort of detached and can look at it from a place of what we call equanimity and see it, as a potential or a possibility, and I go, okay, well, if that's a possibility, if that comes up today, I know how to negotiate it. You can't do that if you don't stay loyal to your practice. So a lot of times people will start learning and they don't stick with it. Oh, well, troubles came up and then I stopped trying to learn. No, when troubles come up is exactly when you can start to learn. Now you can start to learn, okay, there's a fight going on. Well, what's going on? And then you can look at it. Oh my God, I'm having trouble with my business. Well, what's going on? That's the time to start to look at it, because it shows you and it can help you work through it. This one is particularly tricky because we can get into a place in our lives where we're not being loyal to who we are. We're settling, and when we gaze into the ball, we start to develop, we push pictures that we want to see into it, and then we can find ourselves tripping ourselves up. Or we can start to gaze into it, see good things, and then go, no, that's not coming from me. So this one's particularly tricky. This one, in Lenormand, you might see card combinations. Here we go. Oh my God, there's sickness and death coming. There's the cross and the coffin, right? this is my fairy tale Lenormand that I did, for those of you who want to know, because people always ask, what deck did you use? This is the fairy tale. If you want to get a copy of this, contact me. I'll hook you up. So maybe these card combinations, and you're like, oh my God, it's going to be horrible today, and you step right into it. Or maybe you're using the tarot, and you see the Three of Swords, and you're like, oh my God, it's gonna be a broken heart. I was once sitting in a, this is when I knew that the description of the Three of Swords that I'd always heard wasn't. There were two situations where Three of Swords. There was one situation I was reading for someone, it came up as laughter. And if you think about it, a social situation where people get together, it could be, three, a social situation, air, laughter, that could mean. There was another situation where I was in jury duty, and I was waiting, and I didn't know if I was going to be called or not, if they're going to let me go home. And I said, what's coming? And I got the Three of Swords. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's going to be, I'm going to be here forever. And no, it meant that the stagnancy, the stalemate in the two, where the person's holding the two swords, or the swords are crossed, broke, and they let me go home. So I learned a whole new meaning from that. But I wouldn't have learned that if I didn't stay faithful to my practice. I kept at it, kept every day learning. What does a situation look like? Okay, so keep this in mind. Are you being loyal to who you really are at your core? That's the first piece, because that everything will be off if you're not. 2, are you being loyal in your practice? Did you start learning Lenormand, and did you stick with it? And did you get deep enough into it? Did you start learning the tarot? Did you stick with it? Did you start with the crystal ball, and did you really go, hey, what are my limitations? Okay, well then maybe I got to get better out of my own head, or I got to get more distance, or more of a sense of equanimity, so I can actually be able to see the images of what's coming without projecting what I want. Same thing with all of these oracles. Okay, so are you being loyal to yourself? Are you being loyal to who you really are at your core and working to develop that? Do you have a spiritual practice that supports your spiritual development, so you can get stronger and stronger and stronger and more powerful in your mind, so that when you read these things, they don't throw you off? Do you stick with it and keep at it? And okay, difficult times, now's the time to work through it. Okay, calm times, now's the time to work to it. Or do you just go to the next thing? Oh, well, I want the next oracle. I'm just going to buy 50 decks and not actually dig in and start to work with it. There's a card in this deck that speaks to this beautifully. This is the Carolyn Mist deck. It's the dilettante. That's someone who jumps around and tries, new things, never getting really deep into any of them, and never really developing the fruit that could come if you spent the time. If you're planting a garden, you have to work on the garden and continue to work on the garden and allow the fruit to come, and then harvest it. And that's the other thing. Do you harvest it when it comes? If you have a success, do you allow yourself to have the success, or do you dismiss it? Oh my God, there's good things coming. Oh no, that can't be. It's got to be bad. Which would stem from settling, and it would stem from not knowing who you are at your core and not working to develop that individual. Because if you are developing who you really are at your core, you're going to, good things will start to happen for you, because you're going to be more in line with what's really going on. I want you guys to consider this as things get weirder now, because this, and I've said this in other videos, this is going to be a very weird year. Things may seem calm now. That is not the way it's going to stay. So people may be doing lots of readings, or trying to do lots of readings to sense what's going on. Are you staying loyal to yourself? Are you staying loyal to your practice? Are you keeping at it and studying? It's like, oh, I'm going to take a class, and then I'm going to take another class, and then I'm going to take another class, and then another class. Did you get what you could out of the first one? Did you actually get all you could out of a 2-card reading before you decided to do a 50-card reading? Are you staying loyal to your practice, and are you using and doing a practice that helps you to develop? So the whole thing of the instant psychic, I'm gonna buy the right deck and then it's all gonna open up for me, or I'm just gonna buy a deck. I always have clients who are frustrated. They'll buy an oracle deck that has stuff like words on it, and they think they're going to buy it and the words are going to tell them. And I was like, it doesn't tell me what's going on. It's because you're not working with the deck and really getting deeply into seeing what comes up and to represent what situation. And you're not going deeper into the spiritual aspect, where you're actually engaging with and interacting with the spirit world, or you're cutting yourself off from the spirit world, or the spirit world is messing with you because it's trying to get you to wake up to something in yourself that you're not recognizing. Okay, so loyalty to the self, loyalty to your practice. And I think those are very important things that one needs to consider as one says, hey, I would like to instantly be a powerful psychic. It's like playing music. It would be great to instantly be a great guitar player, but you have to practice your chords. You have to practice and understand music first, and then after you practice for a while, then everything starts to come together. And it's those moments when things start to come together. And I've found personally in my practice in doing this, that when they really start to come together is when you read for another person. You get yourself out of the way and you're in a situation where it's almost uncomfortable. It's like, oh God, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, I sat down, I read for other people, and boom, it all came together. Then all the stuff I was practicing came together, like everything we do in life. So it's not just about tarot. It's not just about developing. It's about, are you being loyal to your practice, what you're trying to develop, what you're trying to learn, whatever it is? Or are you jumping around and saying, okay, now I want to do this. Now I want to do that. Now I want to do that. Well, I'm done with this. I did this for 5 weeks and I'm not an expert yet. Now I'm going to go to Lenormand or whatever. So if you'd like to develop your skills a little more deeply and you want to take a class with me, I have one in how to read the Lenormand. I have one in how to read tarot, one in how to read crystal ball, one in how to, I meant to say something about this one. This one's Loteria. Where's my Loteria? Mexican Loteria. This was a very interesting thing. I have a student who took my Mexican Loteria class and got very, very good with them. And he's tremendous with them. And I will say, first off, before I developed this class, people asked me, no one was doing Loteria readings. I was going around in groups on Facebook and stuff like that, reading for people with this. And they're like, and people were like, why don't you do a class for this? Because this is amazing. I spent a lot of time working with Mexican Loteria cards, and they unlocked a lot of secrets for me because I was working with them and practicing with them, and I had experience with them, done readings for thousands of clients. I know the stuff, right? So I started teaching a student, and he started to succeed with them as well, like in a big way. He's really good with them. And then someone came to him who's like, hey, you're reading those wrong. And he's like, well, I have some meanings that I got offline and you're reading them wrong. And it's like, no, you may be getting the reading stuff that someone wanted you to see, but that doesn't mean it's accurate, and that doesn't mean it will unlock for you. The one thing I learned about this, and this is a good example for a lot of stuff in this esoteric world, there were individuals, and when I first started this, I lived in a Mexican neighborhood, and there were a lot of individuals who did read with these, and there were a lot of Mexican grocery stores where you could buy these, and people played them, gambling with them and stuff, but they also read with them. And I'm going to say that they didn't reveal to people outside their community or outside their tradition or outside their family what the real meanings were or how they worked. And that there was something that you could get from the little sayings on the cards. However, it wasn't all of it. And if you wanted to unlock all of it, you really needed to know how to interact with the spirit world in order for it to happen. So he was finding success with them, and someone came along and said, those aren't correct. It's like, really? And he's like, really? Because I'm reading for people, it's accurate, and I'm doing this professionally, and my clients are coming back because they're satisfied with the readings. So there's that to consider as well. Make sure that the information that you're getting will actually help you to achieve success, not just, well, this is what the tradition says. What tradition? By whom? And did they give you the real tradition, or did they give you something to placate you, or just shut you up to get out of their business? Because I know for a matter of fact that there was a lot of people in the neighborhood I grew up with who read this who didn't want to talk to outsiders about this. They would teach their family, and that's it. Same thing in the South. There's people who have family playing card traditions that they've passed down in their family, and it works within their family, and they don't tell other people what's going on with that. So consider that kind of thing as well. And practice is the key to understanding, unlocking knowledge, and then the more you work with it, the more confidence grows. So if you want to take a class in Mexican Loteria or any of the other things I've met, or playing cards, I got playing cards as well, contact me 779-302-8009 or conjurehope@gmail.com. All my classes are listed on my new website, LunkyLinksFortune.com. If you'd like to get a reading from me, same thing, 779-302-8009, conjurehope@gmail.com. Any of these methods I can use. I can use a crystal mirror. We can do your Tibetan birth chart to see who you really were, and if you have settled in your life. All these things are options. contact me and play. Ask yourself, hey, what am I settling in? Where have I settled? Take a look there. How have I settled? Take the oracle, right? And then you may learn something.